to slowing down not just TCU's run game, but you guys have been good against the run all year. I think every opponent you've had it, you've held below their average, other than maybe Maryland. So why have you guys become a good run defense? Not become, but why are you a good run defense?
I mean, I think there's three things I've always talked about: it's rushing defense, scoring defense, turnover margin. In my opinion, that's if you look at those three things, that's in every great defense. However far you want to go, I think those are three things that stick out. If you want to throw a fourth in there, it's third down percentage. So it's just something we talk about. Kids know that they bought into it since we've been here, and it's just always a talking point every week in the spring and the summer. I mean, if at the end of the day, when you throw the ball, you still got to throw it, you still got to catch it. Ball's in the air. So
best overall performance for the defense this year or last week, you think?
yeah, as far as actually doing things to change the outcome of the game, you talk about the takeaways. It's something that we've harped on for a while now. I thought very comparable to the Oklahoma game. We didn't have, if we have three turnovers in that game, we win the game. So I think that was the difference. So in a way, very comparable, but yes, overall plays that changed the game. Yeah.
With the exception of maybe the touchdown, were they communication-wise pretty happy with what your guys were able to do?
Yeah, I mean that was there was two things on the touchdown. There was a bad angle on the twist up front. I thought Akeem may have gotten too thick onto the tackle, but he didn't. He come too tight and kind of lost his footing. And then Sean Mahone, just an error that he doesn't make a lot. You take that away, we're down to whatever it was, couple field goals and the kickoff return. So other than that, communication was a lot better, and a lot of that was on some of the things we did took a lot off of the players. Simplified things. Yep.
How did you finally, after 6 games, get across the point, go attack the ball?
I think the simplification's got a lot to do with it. You play faster, you tend to have more of a reaction to that. So I think that's one thing. And then number two, I mean, it's we've kind of had to mix and match some pieces throughout the year and some rotations, and I think guys that you take Charles Woods for example. He gets his chance. There it is. He makes the best of it. So it's good to see, good for him. But to see Sean Mahone, Daryl Porter, those guys competing for balls in the air was good to see.
I'll ask Neil this. Was there anything that you saw in practice or leading up to what Woods did Saturday? Was there like this guy's coming, or did it just happen Saturday?
No, I think it goes back to last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever the last press conference. Charles is a transfer, and it don't matter where you come from. Every system is different, and it takes time to get accustomed to that system. And I think it's always that anywhere from 4 to 6 game mark where when it clicks, it clicks. And I think Charles is a guy that was in that situation, and then obviously being from Dallas, a little bit of a homecoming for him. So I know he was juiced up for that.
You may cringe, but some players seem to play better in games than they do in practice. I know practices lead to the games, but is he maybe one of those guys?
I don't cringe. I was a player too. Practicing I understand practice isn't always fun. No, Charles practices hard. Charles practices well, and I think to the question, I think is one of those things where you see some things throughout fall camp and throughout the season that you see some things where it's coming. So I think it's a little bit of both.
Just going back real quick to your first response about run defense being one of the 3 main keys along with scoring defense and turnover margin. Why is run defense to you so much more important than a passing defense? Is it because everything kind of starts and stems from stopping the run, and that's kind of where the passing game comes from?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're always looking at the next down. So if I look at on a normal series, it varies from opponent to opponent. But if I can play 2nd and 8 plus as a defense, I kind of understand what your playbook's going to be from that point, and that's somewhat just you're always thinking things that play ahead. And a lot of teams have a first down run tendency, try to get their drive going or try to get that series going. So, I mean, that's obviously not 100%, but and then playing the next down after a pass, you're playing a chess match. But it kind of shrinks the playbook when you're able to do that. There's a lot more things you can do against the pass and coverage than you can do, to stop the run. Stop the run is block recognition, block defeat, tackling, very, very basic fundamentals of the game. So that's which we work really hard on. And it's a team that it's kind of hard to control. It's clock control, it's game management, everything. The teams that run the ball are the best at those things. So if you can take that away, gives you an advantage.
Speaking of stopping the run, you got maybe the best back you've seen yet coming in this week, Brees Hall. What challenges does he present? I mean, you've seen him before, but what challenges does he present that maybe other running backs just can't do?
He's really patient. He holds, and then he when he accelerates through the seam or the gap that he has, he's as good as anybody at number one, the speed of that, number two, breaking tackles, keeping his shoulders square, getting downhill. And I mean, he's normally a guy like that is strictly a power guy, but Brees is good in space. But he's an extremely patient runner. He makes if you hang on blocks, it makes it really hard on your defense for him, because he allows those guys to just stay on their blocks, and then when he finds a crease, he can accelerate through it as good as anybody that I've seen.
Just looking at what happened in the Baylor game when you admitted you guys really focused on selling out to stop that run, and they obviously countered that and made you pay with the passing game. With a quarterback like Brock Purdy, is there any caution to saying, hey, we can't focus too much on the run with a guy like that?
Yeah, I mean he's probably one of the most competitive quarterbacks that I've seen, and so to where their passing game is extremely different from what Baylor's, even the personnel to a certain extent. You have to stop Brees Hall, but what he does and how he moves around and the intermediate passing game that they have, I mean, it brings a whole other element to the game. So you gotta find a way to be good against both. And so hopefully over the next, we got a pretty decent start on, I think. So hopefully over the next couple of days we'll figure that out.
How unique is what Iowa State does with tight ends compared to what you've seen the rest of the year?
I think it's more unique of what their tight ends are. They don't. I said this last year. When you're 6'6" and 6'7", whatever they are, you don't really have to be very unique with what you do. You just have to be unique with where you put the ball, and so they create a huge challenge. Just their body presence, but the motions and the shifts and changing the picture, pre-snap to on the snap, is something that's really unique. It's very almost triple option-esque kind of numbers and angles of how they do it. So it is unique.
And you mentioned last year with these tight ends, when they go three tight, it actually adds more gaps that you have to defend, widens the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they create. We always call it surface. They 3-man surface, 4-man surface, 5-man surface, and the guy on itself, any guy's going to create a gap, and so, but how they create theirs with their length and just their body presence, it's hard.
And then they throw in a 6'3", 210-pound outside receiver.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got a lot of big guys in that second level you got to deal with.
Yeah, it's tough.
Going back to what you were talking about with the blocking and their patience in the run game, I know you want your line to penetrate and get into gaps, but when they can't, are you trying to teach them to drive back, maybe drive a blocker back and put a dent in that surface? How do you attack it, when your guys do get blocked initially?
Yeah, you obviously want to do that. I think that anytime that if you're trying to attack and react as opposed to read and react, and we do a little bit of both, just depending on the opponent. The number one thing that they have to understand is they defeat the block, then find the ball. A lot of times when you get into it, is they try to penetrate and find the ball, and the whole time don't realize that they're getting blocked or they're getting moved, either horizontally or vertically. So, it's just how you teach it, but it does help against a guy that's patient, a line that's patient with their scheme. If you can make a guy make a second cut, per se, and first cut's important, but if you make a second cut, that helps.
Jordan, you guys played really close to receivers, it seemed like. Was that instructive, or was that just something that, that would get you more into ripping balls away or tipping passes, and they just decided to be more aggressive?
You say it against TCU? Yeah. No, we did, and I think we've got to a little bit more moving forward. It's hard to do that without making the coverage where it helps that. But I do think that helps guys, whether it's practice or in game, have a little more confidence to be aggressive. That they can get down there and be physical and play tighter and play closer. And I think the more experience that you gain, particularly at corner, you can do that, then the less risk there is to do that. So, yeah, we did, and it paid off.
Johnston, pretty good ratio of attempts to him targets, probably similar to Hutchinson, I would guess, right? They really focus on
Very
him.
similar.
What did you see from Porter and Woods about, they gave up some plays early, but they also hung around and made some plays too. They were not deterred or intimidated against the guy that maybe could do that to you.
Well, the first thing when you look at a corner, recruiting him, evaluating him, is obviously his skill set, but his memory. And he's got to have a short memory. And as a coach, you have to have a short memory with the kid, because receivers like that, and like the one we're about to play, they're going to make some plays. You're not going to go 100%. If you do, great, kudos. But your odds are you're not. They're good. I mean, number one, Johnston's he's a really good receiver. He's going to play in the NFL. And really good receivers in this league, and the kid we're about to play is the same thing. Like, they're going to make some plays. All right, can we adjust it? Can you recover? Can you forget it? And so that one play doesn't affect the next 5 or 6. And I think when you go back to Texas Tech or Baylor in any game, I think that's sometimes, with like Charles and Darryl, that's a sign of youth, a sign of when they let that happen. So as a player starts to grow, that's one thing that helps them with what you're talking about, is they got to have a short memory, and they just got to play the next play.
Depth concerns in the secondary corner, especially now with some injuries.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can't control it. It's one of those things in a season that happens, and so we gotta have next guy up, next guy ready, which is our job. So.